Picture this. Two people, same age, same city. One earns $190,000 a year. Designer apartment, new car every 3 years, dinners at restaurants you need a reservation for 2 months in advance. The other earns $68,000 a year. Modest apartment, used car, cooks at home most nights. By every visible measure, person one is winning. Then you look at their balance sheets. Person one has $12,000 saved, $47,000 in credit card and car debt, no emergency fund, retirement account sitting at $31,000 at age 38. If they lost their job tomorrow, they'd be in serious trouble within 60 days. Person two has $94,000 invested, no consumer debt, 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, retirement account at $112,000. If they lost their job tomorrow, they'd be fine for half a year without touching their investments. Who is financially successful? This is the core confusion that causes most people to get personal finance completely wrong. We have been trained to use income as a proxy for financial health, but income tells you how much flows in. It tells you nothing about how much stays. And the gap between those two things is the only number that actually determines your financial future. Let's talk about what financial success actually means. Most people, if you ask them to define it, would describe a number, a salary, a net worth figure, a house in a certain neighborhood. Financial success in the popular imagination looks like wealth. It looks like accumulation. It looks like more. But here's what the data actually shows. The median net worth of Americans is $192,700, according to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances. The average net worth is $1.06 million. The reason those two numbers are so far apart is that the average is being dragged upward by a relatively small number of extremely wealthy households. The top 10% of American households hold nearly 67% of total household wealth, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. In other words, the picture of financial success that most people are aiming at, the millionaire, the big income, the visible wealth, represents a statistical outlier, not a realistic benchmark. And chasing it without defining what you actually need is how people end up earning $190,000 and having $12,000 saved. Financial success is not a number, it is a ratio, and that ratio has nothing to do with how much you earn. Here's the number that actually determines your financial future. It's called your savings rate, the percentage of your take-home income you set aside and invest consistently. And here's why it matters more than your salary. In 2012, a blogger named Pete Adeny, better known as Mr. Money Mustache, published what became one of the most widely read personal finance posts ever written. The math he laid out was straightforward and slightly shocking. Your time to reach retirement depends on only one variable, your savings rate, not your income, not your net worth, just the percentage of what you earn that you keep. If you save 10% of your income, you need roughly 40 more years of work to retire. If you save 25%, that drops to about 32 years. At 40%, you're looking at 22 years. At 50%, around 17. The same math holds whether you earn $50,000 or $150,000. A person earning $60,000 and saving 40% will reach financial independence in roughly the same number of years as a person earning $150,000 and saving 6%. The salary changes how fast you accumulate in absolute terms. It does not change the timeline when the savings rate is identical. Which means the person earning $68,000 and saving 30% of it is on a faster path to financial freedom than the person earning $190,000 and saving 6%. Dramatically faster. But here's the part that makes this more than just math. Savings rate does two things simultaneously that most people only think of as one. When you increase your savings rate, you obviously accumulate more invested dollars compounding over time. But you also reduce how much you need to retire in the first place because your lifestyle is already calibrated to live on less. Here's how that works. Financial independence is typically defined as having roughly 25 times your annual expenses invested. That's based on the 4% withdrawal rule, the widely cited finding that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio per year in retirement and sustain it indefinitely across almost any historical market scenario. So if you spend $60,000 a year, you need $1.5 million to be financially independent. If you spend $40,000 a year, you need $1 million. If you spend $30,000 a year, you need $750,000. A high savings rate shrinks the spending number and grows the investment number at the same time. It is structurally the highest leverage move in all of personal finance, and it is completely independent of income. So, what does this actually mean in practice? It means there are 3 things that determine whether you become financially successful, and income is a supporting actor in all 3 of them, not the lead. The first is your spending to income gap. This is the foundational number, not how much you make, how much of what you make you don't spend. You can move this needle from either direction, earning more or spending less, but the goal is always the same: widen the gap. Most people instinctively try to widen this gap by earning more, but lifestyle inflation, the quiet, nearly universal pattern where spending rises to meet income, erodes most of those gains. The person earning $190,000 with $12,000 saved is a real phenomenon, and it is not a character flaw. It is what happens when there's no deliberate structure preventing spending from consuming every raise. The more reliable move is to set your savings rate first, automate it, and then let lifestyle calibrate to whatever is left, not the other way around. The second is time in the market. Compound growth rewards patience above everything else. A 35-year-old with $94,000 invested at 8% annual returns will have roughly $1.4 million by age 65. They don't need to be wealthy now, they just needed to start, and they need to leave it alone. This is also why the person earning $68,000 who started at 25 will, in many scenarios, retire wealthier than the person earning $190,000 who started at 38. The head start in years matters more than the advantage in income. There is no version of this math where "I'll invest more later when I earn more" beats "I'm investing a reasonable amount right now." The third is what you do with income increases. Every raise, every bonus, every period where a fixed expense disappears, a loan paid off, a subscription canceled, is a fork in the road. That money either gets absorbed into lifestyle or it gets redirected into savings and investments. Most people take the first path, not because they're irresponsible, but because they never made an explicit decision. The money showed up and life expanded to fill it. The financially successful person, at any income level, makes the decision before the money arrives. They define their lifestyle floor and refuse to let it automatically rise with income. This is not about deprivation. It is about deciding that your future self has a claim on your money before your present preferences do. Now, a pushback I want to address directly. This is easier to say if you're earning a decent salary. Some people genuinely don't have enough to save. That's real, and it matters. Saving 20% of $30,000 looks different than saving 20% of $80,000. And there are income levels where survival spending consumes almost everything available. That constraint is real, and it's not solved by mindset. But the data also shows something consistent across income levels. Most people at most income levels spend more than they need to and save less than they could. Not because they're choosing to, but because they've never built a structure that captures the difference first. The starting move isn't 20%. The starting move is 1%. Automate $50 from every paycheck before you see it. Build the infrastructure. Let the habit exist and increase it every time income rises or an expense falls. The person who starts at 1% and builds is not behind the person who waits for a salary that makes saving feel comfortable, because that salary almost never arrives at the right time. There is always something else the money is needed for. There is always the next milestone that feels like the right moment to start. Here's what this video is really about. Financial success has a simpler definition than most people are operating with. It means your money is working. Your savings rate is positive and growing. You have a cushion between you and a crisis, and you are on a path, even a slow one, toward a point where work becomes optional. That definition is available at $50,000. It is available at $35,000 in certain situations. It is obviously easier with a higher income, and more income genuinely helps. But income alone has never made anyone financially successful. The proof is the $190,000 earner with $12,000 saved. The median American net worth is $192,700, but the median savings rate is around 4.6%. Those two facts together tell you everything. Most people aren't building wealth because of what they earn. They're building it despite what they spend. You don't need to be rich to be financially successful. You need a gap between income and spending, the discipline to protect it, and enough time to let compound growth do the rest. That's the whole game, and it is available to far more people than believe it is. Drop a comment below. What's the one financial habit that's made the biggest difference in your own situation? I read every single one.